So Lindsay, I'm so glad you're here today. Lindsay Warren, a Hope Kids mom. How long have you been at Hope?
So I started coming to Hope when my husband and I started dating back in 2009. He had been coming to Hope for several years before that. We met right after I graduated from U of R. And so, yeah, we've been coming since 2009. We were married by David in 2011, and we've just been here ever since.
That was so fun. One of my favorite questions is why, maybe not why Hope in the first place, but why was it Hope the second time, the third time? What has put you at Hope all this time later still?
Yeah, no, I mean, because we've been here through so many seasons, you know, it's kind of almost like kids fresh out of college,
fun.
Young married couple now with young kids. And I think that Hope has really kind of, it's been able to kind of meet us in every season where we've been. I think, part of it is the community and the people that we've met here. In prior kind of iterations for us, we were involved in small groups that were great. And I feel like really now having kids, Hope Kids, and the other wonderful moms, and of course you, Bernadette, and the other staff have just been such, that village for us. And I just feel like it has really enriched our experience here so much. And of course, David and Pete and all the other staff and just kind of the mission of Hope. It's I don't see us going anywhere. So.
Oh, love it. I feel like we've been friends for much longer than we really have. But I guess it was just a year ago. I have a mom group that, you of course know this, that helps me cut curriculum out and all that good stuff. And I've known Charlie for a little while. I mean, he's such a character. Charlie is Lindsay's 5-year-old and is such a character, just these beautiful big bouncy curls. So you can't miss him. He's hysterical. And so to meet mom and dad a little more in-depthly, Lindsay, was really fun. And just about a year ago, I invited Lindsay to this mom group, and it has been so fun to see Charlie change in this 1 year, but also the addition of baby Peter. Peter was just 6 weeks old the first time you came to mom group, but even then before that, you were at Hope the week after Peter was born. So I'd love to hear just a little bit about what were the choices of yes, I just had this baby, and of course there's grace for all the time that I need or any woman needs, but what was your driving factor to be no, I want to be back in this space because one, physically I can do it, but two, why am I back here today?
Well, and it's funny. So I remember when I had Charlie, and of course I feel like a lot different with your first because everything's so much fresher and newer. Yeah. And I remember coming to service. Charlie was born on oh my goodness, what day of the week was it? It was probably 5 days after Charlie was born. We came to our first Sunday back at Hope. And I remember I probably wasn't really ready to come back. Sure. And I remember thinking, oh man, I might have pushed it a little bit. But with Peter, I feel like with the second, you're kind of ready to get out. And I think too, Hope, I mean, we come every Sunday, and I think it was just kind of the natural flow to kind of get back into things and start to feel, kind of back to normal. For Charlie too, he loves coming every Sunday and kind of trying to keep that routine for him. Yeah, and course. Part of that was coming to Hope on Sunday and not kind of messing up that rhythm that we had. And I think too, in terms of starting and going to the mom group, it is, 6 weeks is it's kind of a tough time. You have a 4-year-old who's running around and a 6-week-old and,
that was a hard time for you?
Right? Just so well rested and everyone's feeling great. But, I think that being in community with other moms, Bailey, who had just had baby Hayden and, so I think being surrounded by other moms who have been there and who could just kind of, pour life into you and encouragement, that it made it feel easy. And I think that everyone kind of needs that in that early phase. And, I hadn't gone back to work yet, so things felt a little bit easier. And so I really enjoyed just that interaction and that community.
Yeah. So of course, selfishly, the mom group's very helpful to me. They cut, they laminate, they do all these wonderful things for me. But from the beautiful perspective, again, a little bit selfishly, it's been so fun to gain this amazing group of friends that are women who just are in that next stage above me, that are having kids, that maybe new babies, but also some of the moms in the group have teenagers and big kids. And that has been just really wonderful to kind of see all these different levels of parenting. And then at the same time, as my friends are having new babies, also inviting them into the group, and that not generational discipleship, but that I have a kid who's 5 and you have a new baby. And so there's things that you two as moms are going to be able to help each other out that is just not my space. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about was there a mom or a group that helped you? And is there a reason? You spoke a little bit about it, but I'd love to hear more about like what mom Christian community means. And, of course, like, would you recommend that for someone, a mom who's feeling a little bit lonely?
Oh, yeah. And I think, I look at like my kind of more so postpartum experience with my first, with Charlie. And I think it did feel lonelier in some ways. You don't have as many friends who maybe have kids that age. And, I think having a new baby can be super isolating, just because you are kind of so tied to naps and feeds, and it can feel really hard to like get out and do anything. And I think that, getting together with a group of moms who are, like you said, not so much intergenerational, but at different phases of their life and of their marriage and, and with their children, and to be able to talk to somebody who has a 10-year-old, who can say, we had similar issues with, picky eating or not listening, or, we had the same kind of struggle, and, here we are on the other side of it.
And everything's okay.
And we made it, and here we are, and we're still alive, and that can be really encouraging. And I think, to be around other moms who just kind of, model, kind of how you parent, and just kind of, the kindness and, we talk all the time with Charlie, kindness and, it sounds hokey. What would Jesus do? How can you be like Jesus? And of course we talk about this, with kids ministry stuff. And I think that being around other parents who can model that, I think being around other, kids who are being raised the same way can be really helpful as well. And also too, seeing that, everyone kind of, other kids too, that act out and have their moments and write their kids. And I think that can also be really kind of liberating as a parent to say, okay, like,
we're good.
We're doing all right. This is a universal kind of thing. And we all have our things.
Yeah. What's really fun about your two boys is Charlie's just now going into kindergarten. And then, of course, you have baby Peter, who just turned 1. You've kind of like moved through this preschool phase once, and now you're like all the way back at the beginning again. So would love to hear some of like the really sweet times of the preschool phase. Like, what were parts that you're really excited to get to do again with Peter, moments you're really excited to see again, that you have moved up into elementary with Charlie, but you're like, no, this preschool phase still has this really sweet aspect to it.
Oh, I love the preschool phase, and I love I feel like each phase just has this new, facet to it that's just so fulfilling. And, we didn't necessarily plan to have them 4 years apart, but that's kind of how things worked out. And I honestly think it's been such a blessing. Yeah. Because it really feels like I get to fully enjoy each phase. Yeah. And I totally understand, let's get all of our diapers out of the way. Yeah. Let's get all of our high chair phase out of the way. And I totally understand that. But for us, I feel like it's been so nice to be able to, we really had those 4 years with Charlie, and then be able to kind of, now bring Peter into it. And also too, being a little bit more confident in your parenting a little bit farther along. But there's so many sweet things about the preschool age. I think as, their personality starts to come out.
Oh my goodness.
Their sense of humor, just as they learn all these cool new skills, and they're just to watch their self-esteem grow. And, they're so proud of, riding the bike with training wheels or not. And, the swimming and just all the cool things that they learn how to do, the reading. It's really cool to just kind of watch them grow, and watch them grow in their friendships, when they're, toddlers, it's more so just they play parallel to each other. Yes. But in preschool, really watching them, kind of learn to navigate those social situations and actually have friends and buddies is just, it's really sweet.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm obviously very biased to this like baby and preschool age group, but there really is just such a sweetness to them. Those first few years, I love to hone in a lot on them becoming the person that they're supposed to be. You'll see a lot of the 3-year-old in the 10-year-old when they become 10. They're still that 3-year-old at heart. They're still that 4-year-old at heart, and they're still going to have that humor and that wild streak and whatever it is. And so it's just so fun. It's just so fun. I just really love the joy that they bring out. And you mentioned the like sweet little moments of, no, what would Jesus do? And that's something that I really want parents to hear, is that there's such intentional discipleship that can happen at these itty bitty age groups, that just because your kid is not in elementary school. That doesn't have to be the beginning of discipleship. Truly, I feel like you are such a wonderful representation of what it looks like to disciple your kids at home, to not just have Jesus be this like guy in the sky that you talk about on Sundays, but what does it look like to live out the actions of Jesus Monday through Saturday at school, in the sandbox, on the playground, at home in the kitchen, alone with mom and dad? What does it look like to be sweet and kind, to be gentle with baby brother, whatever it is? So are there like practical things that you guys do day in and day out? Is it just that like casual mentioning of, no, Jesus is a part of our daily lives? Or, you know, what kind of conversations were you and Will having to say, this is what we want to do with our boys to show them that Jesus is truly one of the most important parts of their lives?
So I would say, admittedly, sometimes it was more so in the hard moments. You know, if we had like a hard time at school with something, we would say, well, you know, well, what do you think they say in the Bible about that? You know, what do you think the Bible says about sharing? Or what do you think the Bible says about, you know, putting our hands on our friends? And, you know, of course, in typical Charlie fashion, he would say, well, I don't think they don't go to preschool in the Bible. And we're like, well, I know, honey, but, you know,
He's so funny.
It's examples that you can then apply. And so, of course, he would always find a way to be like, that's not in the Bible.
That doesn't apply to me, actually.
He's like, I'm sure that's not in the Bible. I'm like, well, okay, maybe, you know, the playground is not in the Bible, but we can, you know, kind of apply this. We read a little devotional every night for like the Jesus Calling the Kids one. And that, you know, kind of brings some good conversations, you know, where he'll kind of have some questions. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you know, and emphasizing him too, you know, we say a blessing before every meal and try not to make it super routine, you know, and try to, and even though, I mean, he has one that he loves and, you know, we always did a preschool one, but then he kind of made his own when, thank you, God, for our food. I love our family. Amen. When he was like 3. And it's just, it's simple and it's sweet and it was his words. And so, you know, he loves that one and we like it because, you know, he came up with it. But, you know, we talk a lot about gratitude and being just how much we have to be grateful for, you know, and just really kind of having a grateful heart and a kind heart. You know, and I think at that age, it's, you know, it's like an adult. It's easy, you know, to have a bad day and it's kind of easy to just kind of get in that, you know, that negative rut and just really kind of trying as much as we can to kind of flip the script to all the stuff that we have to be grateful for.
Oh, so sweet. We've talked a lot about Charlie's humor, and because he truly is hysterical. And I really think most 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds are hysterical. For those of you who just have babies or aren't remembering what your 4-year-old was like, they are hysterical, and I love getting to spend time with them. So I know that there's probably 7,000 funny Charlie stories, but are there a couple that you're like, these are the stories that when the kids are out of the house, we're going to laugh about, that Charlie said this, or Peter did this when he was 1, or Charlie was this way, you know?
I mean, there really are so many. It's kind of like I work in the ER when people ask, like, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen? And it's like, honestly, it's every day.
You're like, my days are crazy.
Like, I don't really have a crazy story. In all seriousness. But I mean, one of my favorites is when I was pregnant with Peter and we were, you know, kind of talking to Charlie about how a baby was coming. And we waited to find out if it was going to be a boy or a girl.
Oh, so fun.
So we talked a lot about names, and I guess Charlie it was summertime. And so he was really into corn on the cob. And so he wanted to name the baby Corn Cob.
Perfect.
And he was really insistent on this. And, you know, we kind of laughed about it. And, you know, my sister-in-law and cousin-in-law threw a really sweet little like luncheon for me. And we had corn cob cookies. Like it was like a running joke whole summer. Well, then Peter's born and we waited a couple days to name him. So at first he was just baby. Well, the night we told Charlie that we had named him Peter, he was really unhappy with us. I mean, he said, Dada, that's a terrible name.
Which, like, isn't Peter a family name?
So it kind of is not, actually.
Okay.
Like, we kind of, all the family names by this point had been used.
Right.
And so I think he said, y'all are stinky. He was really upset that we didn't use corn cobs. Yeah. So, and I felt kind of bad because I don't think we quite realized that he would be so upset about it. And now we can laugh about it, and now he can laugh about it. But, but baby corn cob, that'll be a favorite.
Oh, I just love that. Yeah. It's just so funny the things that they hold on to. Like, he would have seen corn cob that one time and been like, that's a great name. Baby should be corn cob 100%.
Like, never met anybody named corn cob. I mean, just because he liked corn on the cob that summer, I guess.
I love that. But it is such a, like, a beautiful reminder also that they're holding on to these little things of like, yeah, he saw the corn cob and he held on to it forever. But it's like also these one-off things that you're saying to him that, you know, we should be kind and we can find this image in the Bible or whatever it is. Like, not 100% of things are going to stick, but making sure that what you're talking about in your like daily life, often enough, some of those things are going to stick because they truly are such sponges at this age. Like they just hear and notice and see and observe everything. And they trust you implicitly. They want to know, what do mom and dad think about this? Because that's what I want to think also. Yeah. So just knowing that what you guys are saying and doing is making such a difference. Again, the age gap between your boys is really fun. So it's kind of like, my question is like, you did the whole preschool phase with Charlie, and you're kind of getting to do it again with Peter. So what's like one little bit of advice that you would want to give kind of to yourself, but also to a mom of her first 1-year-old that is like wanting to just know that they're doing an okay job? And like, what would be that like word of encouragement that you're like, if I could tell a mom with a 1-year-old this, it would be it?
I think probably 2 things. One would be that you can't really take credit for all the things that go right unless you're willing to take credit for all the things that don't go right. And I say that in regards to all the things that parents of young kids freak out over in terms of sleep and what they eat. You know, Will and I talk about this all the time that, you know, yes, you can do all the things you can do to have a good sleeper and they still sleep terribly. You can do baby-led weaning and have them eating, you know, Thai food at 8 months, and by age 3,
they're done. Yeah.
It's still chicken nuggets. And, you know, basically that you can do all the things right and still have a hard time. Yeah. And that is what it is. And, you know, kids have their own personality. And that's why whenever, you know, Charlie was a good sleeper and people would say, oh, what'd you do? So, I mean, you know, sure, a sound machine. But it was just, he was a good sleeper. Yeah. So I think just kind of letting go of some of that stuff as much as you can, because so much of it is, we have less control over it than we think. Yeah, totally. And then I think the biggest one is just not letting the hard days and times steal the joy from all of it. I just think about that a lot. You know, we had some, I'm going to say, you know, kind of some days at school with some difficult behavior in like last year. Yeah. You know, just where things felt a little hard. And I think that those days were so hard because we would sit and think, you know, well, you know, what can we do? And how can we kind of, you know, coach him through this, or what do we need to do? And not letting those conversations and those kind of things just steal how much of it's so wonderful still, because it's really easy to have so much worry that you miss like all the wonderful parts of it. Yeah, that like wonderful balance of something that we say in Hope Kids a lot of, it's a phase, so don't miss it because it'll be gone. But on the flip side, it's just a phase and it will move on. Yes. So kind of holding both of those things of saying, this is so hard right now and I'm ready for what's next is okay. But also giving yourself those moments of, this is just a phase and it'll be gone in the next few days or the next few months. And so I can hold on to that sweetness at the same time. So just really grateful for your role in their lives. Of course, it's such a gift to get to know them and watch them learn and grow, and to see Charlie's growth and love of Jesus and just what a hoot he is. But also grateful for your presence in Hope Kids and your authenticity to just say like, things are not perfect. Like my boys are not perfect, but we're trying day in and day out. And so I think that would be just a reminder for me as a person who doesn't have kids even to say, I'm not perfect and I'm trying my best day in and day out. So just grateful for you to come here and talk a little bit about your boys and your time in the preschool phase. And yeah, thank you so much. Well, thank you, Bernadette. And we're so grateful for you. I mean, not just for what you've done here at Hope, you know, and just for our family. And I'll, you know, never forget when you showed up with dinner when Peter was, you know, just a couple days old. And, you know, those first couple days with a new baby with another kid can be tough because the other kid, you know, feels a little put out. And I think you sat on the floor and played with Charlie for probably an hour. I mean, he roped you into the playroom and probably guilt tripped you a little bit. But, you know, and just the kind of the love and attention that you poured into him. And, you know, every Sunday, just, you know, the way your face lights up when you see him. I mean, he knows that, he feels that. I mean, I remember before, I forget, Charlie and Will I was working one day. I think they ran into you at the train display.
Uh-huh.
And Charlie was so excited about seeing Miss Bernadette somewhere.
Outside of church, it always like blows their minds.
Right, it's
so funny.
totally out of the element. But no, I mean, he always say, well, when I said we were coming today, well, I get to hang out with Miss Bernadette, right? I said, well, you'll see Miss Bernadette. But I mean, I kind of, you've been such a gift to our family. So we're really grateful for you.
You're so sweet. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you just coming to chit chat for a minute. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Bernadette.